So why am I here today? In the last few months, we established a membership, a mutual membership. So this means that Swissolar is now a member of iBAT, and also iBAT is a member of Swissolar. And as a consequence, also you as iBAT members, you have the possibility to participate in the Expert Commission on Decentralized Storage, and also our experts from the Commission, they have the possibility to join, for example, your Battery Tuesdays. And I think, as Christian already mentioned, it can be very valuable for both sides to have a certain exchange. So I have like 5 to maximum 10 minutes where I will introduce ourselves, and I will also let Peter Dietiker say a few words about his perspective. He will share a bit the view of a member of the Commission, so in order that you understand a bit why it can be useful to join our meetings in the Expert Commission. So as you know, Swissolar is the industry association for the solar industry, but Swissolar also wants to position itself as the industry association for stationary batteries. And that's also why we already have this expert commission since several years. And usually we meet twice a year for about half a day. We have one meeting online, and there is one special meeting where we always meet at the members' location, and where we also organize a tour where we can see, for example, the production site of one of the members. And there are several goals of the expert commission, but if you have to summarize it somehow, then it would be the early identification of challenges in the industry, so for which we need to develop solutions together. And here I have just a list of our tasks. I will not just mention each of these tasks. You can read it on your own, and we are also very open to share the presentation with you so that you can study it afterwards. But usually our meetings, they have quite a part where we talk about the actual markets. We discuss new standards and laws and industry documents that have just come up in the recent months. We are also preparing leaflets and information letters. I will show you an example on another slide. And we are also mainly just processing technical questions. That means, so as a member, you have always also the opportunity to bring topics into the group where it can be discussed with other experts. Maybe they have already some experience on it. And so we can have also this kind of profit of networking and sharing information with each other. There are also supports of some projects, and for sure it's also a good platform to initiate new projects. We can have a lot of exchange, as I already mentioned, and Swissolar as an association can be very interesting to share also important information with its members internally and externally. So who are the members of our expert commission? You see here a list. So we have some grid operators, we have manufacturers, service providers, and so on. And me, from my part, I'm from the Bern University of Applied Sciences, which would be also here the last point on the list. I will show you on the next slide a bit more in detail which companies are the members of the group. And whenever you would be interested to get in touch with us because you would like to have some more information, or if you are willing to join the group, please contact my colleague Fabio Schide from Swissolar. He cannot be here today, or you can also contact me and I will forward your request to Swissolar. For further information, you can also just have a look on the website, which is mentioned here. And as I already told you, because it's quite a long link, we will also share the presentation with you afterwards. So here we have just placed all the members with a logo, so just that you have a short overview about the companies that are linked or that are members of the group. We have tried to group them a bit in associations and science on the left side, and in the middle, installers and engineering. There are also the grid operators in this group, and on the right side, where we have placed the manufacturers and distribution. So I mentioned that we or Swissolar is also just writing some leaflets, for example, but here we even have a report, the so-called report Batteriespeicher mit Photovoltaik. It is available in German. In this report, there are several topics addressed. So like, for example, the market development of batteries, especially of batteries together with photovoltaic. Then an important subject is as well the price development, political framework as well. And it's also treating ecological and social aspects and many, many more. I've just shown you here a graph where you can see the development of the market here, also in Switzerland. And out of this report, there came 6 key recommendations for action. And whenever you are interested, I invite you to go through these 6 recommendations and read the report, which will just provide you a bit more information in detail. Also here I added the link, which you will get with the presentation. So I thank you very, very much that I have the opportunity to introduce us here in this group. I will also now just head over for some short words from Peter Dietiker. Peter Dietiker is a member of the experts group, and he will share a bit his perspective why it could be interesting for others also to be part of the group. Thank you, Peter Dietiker, for being here, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Stefan. So I think it's important to know that Swissolar is a very important association for all installers and engineers around solar. So they were very, very busy on all the roofs, and now we reached quite an importance in the energy market that we should not only produce and forget. That means we should be a part of the solution, that we can storage as well. So that's why batteries are now very important issue for the whole industry. And the good thing about this expert group is that we met each other, from manufacturers to suppliers to grid operators and installer and engineers. So we have a broader perspective, and we have more understanding for each other, and more we see what is the common sense or the common aim, what we're heading for. And that's important to have a good direction for the industry, as well as to support a bit our colleagues who are making lobbying in Bern for our interests. So that's a bit the thing. And I think it's good to have more perspective from the research side, that we can a bit see what's going on, what will bring the future, because we are convinced that there is a huge demand coming start next year, when the electricity price for reinjection in the grid will be close to zero, and that will give a huge wave of demand in the market. So that's a bit my opinion about. if you have any question, I'll be there.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction to Peter and Stefan here. Maybe from my side, one point. So Stefan, I think on the slide before you showed the graph with the implemented storage capacity in Switzerland. And as you have already 25 in it, is that an estimation, or can you say something? I think also like 2024 is not that like so dark in the color. Maybe you can say 2-3 words about.
Yeah, very good question. I cannot answer this precisely. I would have to clarify this and ask my colleagues from Swissolar. I think it might be an estimation, but probably based on already available data of the member or of the members of Swissolar. Peter, I think wants to add something.
I mean, the both 24 and 25 figures are not officially, so it's a forecast. That's why they are not so deep red, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if there's another question. There was not a question, but Sophie Tixier said just to inform everyone that France has just updated its regulation on battery storage as well as ICPE regulation evolution. So yeah, just want to share that information with you. If this is not the case, I would like to go to our main contributor today. Let me share quickly again the presentation, and I hope, Peter, you're still with us. Yes, here you are.
Yes.
And I would like to introduce BloqSens AG. So it's all about digital product passport, especially in the field of batteries. And I think we have quite a dense agenda from the regulatory about the demo and data required, data acquisition, and so on. So, Peter, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Christian. I do share my screen just a moment. So here we go. Thank you very much, everyone participating, everyone showing an interest in the digital battery passport. I'm very happy to present the digital battery passport, its challenges and its opportunities on behalf of BloqSens AG. So, who is BloqSens? We are a company that has been founded 2023, 2 years ago, by Tobias Winter and myself. Then we have added a strong team with exponents like Christoph Knack, Johannes Schweifer and Claude Bataillard, which do actually cover most fields from the solution architecture. Christoph is the senior solution architect on behalf of all the, including all the ERP system solutions. Johannes Schweifer is the blockchain architect who is in charge of our blockchain-based application architecture, and Claude Bataillard is looking for the financial aspect of the company. So, as a company, we are helping the clients from consulting through onboarding to data hosting and digital battery passport output. That is quite a journey, actually. Usually, customers, they get in touch with us with questions regarding a couple of questions of those that we are looking at right now. The question is usually, how do we prepare ourselves for the digital battery passport? And a lot of those questions will be answered, hopefully, afterwards. And let's take a quick look at the base, the legal base. 2015, there was a Paris Climate Agreement, and afterwards in 2019, the European Union issued the Green Deal as a measures towards the climate crisis, and the product passports were declared and considered instruments to actually get a transparent supply chain so that material could be reused and could also be recycled, not only recycled, but also that there would be a second life for certain goods. The battery regulation says the following. From February 18th, EV LMT batteries and industrial batteries with a capacity larger than 2 kilowatt hours shall be electronically registered and shall contain a QR code and a CE level. The responsibility lies at the economic operator or the manufacturer or the importer, depending on who is entering the European market. The Swiss regulation is still not out yet, so we are expecting in fall this year, we are expecting the Swiss standpoint. But however, also Swiss manufacturer, importers, or economic operators are held responsible once they want to import the batteries into the European Union. We are just taking a look closely what will be in that passport. Sorry, I skipped this one. That is all together what I just said about February 18th. And it's about EV, electric vehicles, batteries for cars, then LMTs, light means of transport, batteries for e-bikes, e-scooter, and similar, larger 2 kilowatt hour. So the batteries in a circular economy, if you take a look at the circle here that each one of you have probably seen already in one way or another, the main part here on the top in the dark blue, we see the upstream data. The upstream data is all the data the batteries got until it's being produced. So the battery passport is issued actually by the manufacturer before the battery goes into market, into its first life usage. We are taking a closer look at the data that is being produced afterwards. Then the second and maybe even a third life usage will also produce data, will also be part of the digital battery passport. Until then, the battery is going to be recycled and the data is going to be reused. So in a horizontal view, from the very left, we see the mining refining information. That will go into intermediate products, cell and module production, into battery pack production when the battery is being either delivered as a battery pack into the European Union or as part of a car or of a truck. Then the battery's got its first life, second life, and until the recycling data and end of life of the battery. So that's a lot of data that has to be collected from various sources. We take a quick look at those sources right now. It's about 100 data attributes that is being spoken of. It's actually about mining and refining. It's about manufacturing. It's about the EV battery itself. And then it's the usage data that the car, for example, is adding to the digital battery passport. Let's take a closer look at the mining and the refining. So we have an origin of the critical raw materials. We are like considering especially cobalt, lithium, graphite, nickel, also lead, of course. Then we have compliance data with ESG standards, responsible sorting standards, ROHS, REACH data, and other due diligence reports on ethical sourcing and generally ESG data. The challenges there, it's that we deal with complex supply chains. So many companies tell us we have the data somewhere, but it's very hard to get to those data. So the supply chains will really have to be there have to be a big investment into supply chain and customer relationship management so that each one sees the benefit of a transparent supply chain. So usually those data are all in different formats. So they need to be uniformed, and there need to be third-party verification of sustainability claims. Also, that is being asked from the suppliers. So there are also many confidentiality concerns because some suppliers do not want to share the data. Those are the challenges. So if we move over to the cell, module, and battery manufacturing, so we will see all the data of the battery chemistry, the composition of the cathode, anode, and the electrolyte materials. So the critical raw materials in the battery will be shared, and the renewable content. We will take a look at that quickly, because from 2031 on, the renewable content has also to be shared, and there has to be gradually more and more renewable content in the batteries when produced. So the carbon footprint will be added there, test reports regarding conformity, sustainability reports, and also, and that is very important for the second life, information on disassembling, dismantling, and recycling of the battery. Challenges there are also data security and confidentiality. So we have potentially sensitive or patent protected information that has to be published to the regulator at least. It won't be a publishing to the public, but it will have to be published to the regulator, because the regulator will have insight to all data. Data from different sources must be merged in order to be published, and partially still unclear is what libraries to use to calculate the CO2 footprint. If we go further to the EV battery, so the specific application data, so there will be manuals for removal from the appliance, the battery, how it can be removed from the appliance. So some safety measures will be indicated, original and remaining power capability and maximum permitted battery power will be there, the expected lifetime, the expected charging cycles, and the actual charge-discharge cycles. So the challenges there is that the collection of application-related data is essential for a meaningful digital battery passport, but it's challenging to aggregate all these data. We will take a look afterwards. We distinguish between static data and dynamic data. And so here, this is a clear case of dynamic data that is connected to the digital battery passport. So we need to comply with standards there. So to actually have all the data in a certain format that can be used and can be interoperably used and can be also transferred to different DPP systems. So looking at the data from the battery's actual use, there is a lot of dynamic data that is playing a central role. So we have the state of charge information, the usable battery energy, the remaining capacity, number of full charge, discharge cycle, etc., etc. Also, not to forget about the number of accidents, incidents, events, overcharge, deep discharge events, etc. Challenges there is that they are not specified yet fully. So the negative events, they are not defined in detail yet. So Also, to ensure reliable real-time updates requires advanced connectivity. So it should be a direct connection to the BMS, from the BMS to the DBP. And the information about the usage patterns could violate privacy regulations, the GDPR. So therefore, the data has to be really protected. If we go to the end of first life, so usually the battery, many of you know that better than I do, the EV battery is usually considered suitable as long as it paints at least 80% of its total capacity, and it usually lasts like 8 to 12, even 15 years. So if a battery no longer meets the original requirements, it still has 75 to 80% of its usable capacity and is suitable for other applications. So that would be, for example, a second life. So as the availability of batteries will grow over the coming decade, the forecasts will say that by 2035, this is up to $4 billion within the market. The second life opportunities, they include small and large scale applications, like from portable energy storage systems up to large energy storage systems like on and off power grid, like peak shaving applications, grid stabilization usage, or the expansion of EV charging infrastructure. So there is many more models possible. So the dismantling and the recycling part, there is also a lot of information needed and required for the DBP. So also the dismantlers and the dismantling the battery safely and efficiently will be enabled by providing the documents that are within the battery passport, and will help to avoid accidents within the dismantling and the dismantling and the dismantling of the battery. So there will be information about the cell chemistry and the material composition. Also, this allows the recycling process to be controlled and allows the recyclers to actually know what is within the batteries. So we have, as mentioned beforehand, different kind of data. On one side, we have static data, and on the other side, we have dynamic data, meaning static data won't change over lifetime, and the dynamic data is fluctual data. That is data that is direct, that is from the BMS directly flowing in. And then we have also distinguished between easy data and complex and sensitive data. So the easy data, of course, it's the identification data, it's the warranty information. So information that is easy to get and easy to obtain and easy to publish. Whereas the complex sensitive data will be the CO2 footprint, the life cycle analysis of the entire battery, then the material composition, etc. And also from the dynamic data part, it's a state of health that needs to be calculated, and the history, the event log of the battery. Whereas the state of charge, the remaining capacity, and the number of charge cycles, that is dynamic, but rather easy to obtain. We have mentioned before, there's quite different data sources actually. So we have supply chain data, we have ERP data, we have battery management system data, we have manufacturer, we have the entire value chain that is being asked for data. And then we have also data rooms like the Catena-X network, for example, where the automotive industry works together with up to the entire supply chain. Even Cattle and LG are members of Catena-X in order to exchange data in a data room easier, and for everyone that is partnering with Catena-X in a way that data is being connected, aggregated, and published in an easier way, in an optimized way. Then let's take a look at the battery passport. I switch over now to a battery passport that I would like to share with you. So, and this is our battery demonstrator with these 100 attributes that I had mentioned beforehand. Don't worry, we won't look at each attribute here. I would like to demonstrate to you here what is important. And this is not a real battery passport, it's a demonstrator actually done for demonstrating the connections, demonstrating what it is showing, demonstrating the interconnection between systems, and checking for data sources, and looking also at the original data that can be exported in certain formats that are interoperable and also provided by the standards organizations. So we try to connect here with a system that is a data room, simulating a data room here, so I can check for the data source, because it's always important that I get a data source that is valid and that is actually there, so that I'm not sitting on old data. And here I can see that the data source is reachable, the data is found, and I see here the current timestamp. So simulating, aggregating data from a battery management system, we can refresh the data, and we are also reading the data from a JSON file. In this context, JSON is a data format, an interoperable data format, which is the base of this digital battery passport. And such a JSON file, we can take a look here. This is about what it looks like. It's for non-IT people, it's rather hard to read, but it is a structured data set that can be read by machines. So we recognize here different parts that I have said already, that I've mentioned beforehand. So this is the basic information. This is definitely a part of the public information, because we have we will have a role and rights management system within the digital battery passport that allows, for example, the manufacturer, the economic operator, the first life user, the second life user, and the recycler and the regulator to see certain data that is important for them. One example, a recycler most likely won't have access to performance data, but for the recycler it is very important to actually see what kind of material is here in the what kind of material is in the battery itself, and to what amount. What amount is, so here we see, for example, a bit of synthetic data, what is in there. So it is very important for the recycler to actually apply physical, chemical, thermal processes to get the material out of the black mass that had been produced beforehand, or even at an earlier stage out of the battery before it becomes black mass. Then we have the certain characteristics of the battery. We have identification fields. We have performance data, static and dynamic, as mentioned before. Safety and handling instruction. Usually that is provided with a link so that the documents can be downloaded. What is important to know is that the data actually does not need to be necessarily hosted with us. It can be also on the system where it is needed. One important part is the event log. I have mentioned it before. So we can check here for events. We can connect to the event system, because the events will, in the events, there will be shown, for example, whether there was a temperature difference, like superating the threshold. Usually a temperature, an overheating or an undercooling is considered a negative event and would be logged in the event log. So this will be provided in a XML format that is also an EPCIS XML format, which can be read by machines, and it, of course, can also be interpreted in HTML so that we can read it. So all these events we store on the blockchain, so that the battery state of health, in addition to the logged history, the event log, that is that we can provide, that will actually tell a lot about the battery itself. Now we have talked a lot about the challenges and what we are facing. We would also like to take a glimpse to the DBP from a corporate perspective and also from the benefit perspective. So it's a fact. On 18th February 2027, each importer or manufacturer will have to be compliant. So with the battery passport, compliance can be granted. That is one good thing. But then also, I mean, what gets forgotten from time to time is all of a sudden I will have a transparent supply chain with all traceability that is possible. So I can have seamless data stream from the raw materials to the recycling. This enables a much better supply chain management and also to compare suppliers according to their CO2 output, to their CO2 footprint. And also, especially for earlier adapters right now, they can, it will help with the brand trust so that I can actually show the transparent supply chain, and the customer loyalty is also a big important step that can be integrated. The e-commerce and customer portals can be truly integrated into the digital battery passports or digital product passports in general, meaning that the customer is actually only one scan away. After having scanned the QR code, the customer can enter into also the corporate world of the brand. Then the sustainability and the circular economy data will actually be will support and undervalue the credible environmental claims that the company and the brand can actually do. And there will be new business models, like business models that are done with data-driven decisions, a product as a service model that we see already in the battery world from certain brands, that they do not sell the battery anymore, but actually do provide the battery as a service, that they work with this model. And of course, the after-sales service can be much more punctual and personalized to the user. So if you have any questions, and I would imagine that you have a couple of questions, we've tried to, or I tried to answer them right now. And otherwise, please feel free to get in touch with me or with Tobias Winter. We will be happy to answer whatever we can, as much as has been defined already by the regulation, by the EU battery regulation, because the final decisions, they will be done end of the year, beginning of next year. Thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you very much, Peter. I would say, well, let's raise the hands. Let's ask questions in the chat. This is all open. I have already a first question. So this is coming from Benedikt Sturny. Who is responsible for the battery passport, the battery manufacturer or the vehicle manufacturer? I guess that's a question that you can answer, Peter.
Yes, it is. I was just going to, unfortunately, I did not show this long enough. I just tried to show you quickly on the presentation, on the slide that I had. So because it's easier to have this written, to see this written. So here we go. So whoever puts a battery on the market or puts it into the use in the EU, be it manufacturer or an importer, is responsible for ensuring that the battery passport is properly introduced and implemented. So let's say there's different cases when cars are being imported. It's not the manufacturer. The manufacturer, of course, is responsible for the manufacturing data, but it's the company that is importing the data, is importing the battery, also if it is within a car, onto the European market. Does that solve is that an answer that can be understood?
For me, yes. Yeah, I hope also that this answers Benedict's question. Then we have another question from Max Christiansson. He first of all said, great presentation. Maybe I missed some info, but I'm wondering how dynamic the data such as SOC is to be updated, uploaded in real time.
Yeah, that is a very good question. You're facing very often, and everyone is wondering. Because there is no definition of time. It doesn't say in 1 minute intervals, in 5 minute intervals. It says it in due time. More or less, it says in due time. Whatever that means, there is a very large space for interpretation, this time frame.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe there's something that will be also coming up, or we will see a kind of industry standard over time, right? So I think this is something that we will see. And
yes.
Exactly. And then there is a question about, like you spoke about, data-driven decision. And then how many dynamic data can be saved? There is like, for example, if current or voltage is saved over 10 years at the 1 second interval, that would be like have a billion data points, right? So I guess this is not the goal to save that in the passport.
No, this is not the goal to save that in the passport. Among DPP or digital battery passport providers, we are still in the void. We do not know yet how many data points need to be set up. So what we know is that we need to provide the data when it's asked for. That's why I actually showed you the demonstrator with loading data, the current data, so that we do have a timestamp and have a current information that is valid. So no one is going to ask 10 years back for a certain voltage of a certain module of a battery, but we need to issue the digital product or battery passport at the time when it's asked for. So we need to provide the data when it's asked for. And that is not the historical data except for the events that I showed in the event log. For this reason, we also store these events in the blockchain. So actually, we store all events, and the events is also the negative events. They need to be stored by law. That is declared in the battery regulation. So it's the state of health development and the event logs that we put as important as to store them throughout the lifetime.
Good, thanks, Peter. I forgot to mention the question was is coming from Luca Meyer. Then I have another question from Andrea Gotinovis. Is the demo that was shown publicity available? Could you share the link with us?
Yeah, the demo is not publicly available, but we are very happy to actually do a quick demonstration. What we can share actually is within the presentation. I think the presentation is being distributed afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So we will share
for the iBAT members, and the video is on YouTube later
yes.
on. Yeah.
So we will share a couple of screenshots afterwards, and so that will I show you quickly what this will look like. So you will have a very good idea of the passport. But the reason that we do not have it publicly available at the time being is because we would like to, let's go through this quickly. We would like to comment actually what is in there and one-to-one answer questions whenever they turn up. So that is what it will look like. We have a screenshot version of the entire battery passport in here, so you can also deal with that. Will be part of the presentation.
Good. Then we have another question from Stefan Stark. We saw that there are still a lot of points undefined. Is there a clear schedule when this decision will be fixed?
We know that at the end of 2026, most of the passports, the digital product passports, because they will be required also for other branches, not only batteries. By 2026, the dates, the mandatory date, by end of 2025, the mandatory dates will be set. But it's not, according to my knowledge, it's not set yet when exactly, on what date the final definitions come out for the battery regulation from the delegated acts. We don't know that yet. We're expecting it in 2026, early 2026.
Yeah, I think this is also what we learned, right? Like we have now the battery regulation, but it comes with those secondary legislations. Then we have also a remark from Thierry Bollet. The battery passport need to be integrated with many enterprise systems where the source data is residing. How does this work from a business model and technical integration? How does it work from a business model and technical integration perspective?
Very good question. I just show quickly. So let's move back to this. We have mentioned beforehand a lot of data sources, indeed, supply chain data, ERP, BMS. So Container X, I mentioned it beforehand, is a data space. And in the future, we will have many more data spaces than just one that is originating in Germany by BMW, Mercedes, and Volkswagen. They have sat together 3-4 years ago and said, let us produce a standard and a data space where we can interchange and exchange data from supplier to the OEM manufacturer at the end. And so that is one model, how to exchange data from supplier to manufacturer to the issuer of the DPP. But there is, for smaller companies, what we do usually is we analyze their IT system of what the current state is, where are the data. So we identify and localize the data sources. And then we will set up a pilot, a demonstrator project. And by setting up this demonstrator project, we, for each field, for each mandatory field, we define the data governance, who is in charge of this field, and where does the information come from. That is one thing. And the other thing is the process. It will also influence the processes, and the processes are also being altered in order to scale not from one passport to N passports, and to roll it out within the entire company. So pilot project, data governance, altering and definition, process management, and then rollout. That's the simple version. The whole process will be during 1 to 2 years.
Excellent. I think with that, or you have answered all the questions from the audience. I would say thank you very much for everybody being here today. We see you in 1 month when we have Fenochi that will present as the next speaker. And meanwhile, I would say keep cool and have good summer vacation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.